She wasn't supposed to send it. The phone was in her pocket. The contact was wrong. And by the time she realized what she had done, it was already gone. 3 minutes and 47 seconds of her life. The worst 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Sitting in a stranger's inbox like a grenade with a pin already pulled. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's start where it actually starts. In the middle of the chaos. The landlord is banging on the door so hard the hinges are shaking. And Maya is standing in her kitchen holding a bowl of cereal she can't afford to refill, staring at her 7-year-old daughter Bree, who is sitting at the table doing her homework like the world isn't ending. Like there isn't a man on the other side of that door about to change everything. Like her mother isn't 2 seconds away from completely falling apart right in front of her. Mommy, who's knocking? Maya sets the bowl down. She smooths her shirt. She schools her face into something that looks like calm, because that's what mothers do. They perform calm even when their hands are shaking. Nobody, baby. Finish your homework. The knocking gets louder. Maya walks to the door and opens it 3 inches, just enough to see his face, just enough to have this conversation without her daughter hearing every word. Gerald Simmons is 62 years old, owns 14 properties in South Chicago, and has the emotional range of a parking ticket. He is looking at Maya the way people look at overdue notices, like she is a problem to be processed, not a person to be spoken to. Ms. Carter, you know why I'm here. Mr. Simmons, I just need 2 more weeks. I've given you 2 more weeks. Twice. My job cut my hours. I explained that. I'm picking up shifts. I'm working every weekend. I just need a little more. Ms. Carter. He says her name like a period at the end of a sentence, like a door closing. The first is in 4 days. I need the full amount or I need the keys. Maya feels the floor shift under her feet. Not literally, but the kind of shift that happens when you realize there is no version of this conversation where you win. Okay, she says. Okay, what? Okay, I hear you. She closes the door. She stands in her hallway for 11 seconds. She counted, not because she meant to count, because counting was the only thing keeping her from screaming. Then she goes back to the kitchen. She sits across from Bree. She watches her daughter write her spelling words in that careful, deliberate way 7-year-olds write things, tongue poking out the corner of her mouth, pressing down on the pencil too hard the way Maya always tells her not to. Mommy, are we moving again? Maya's throat closes. Why would you ask that? Bree doesn't look up. Because you made your worried face. 7 years old. 7 years old, and already fluent in the language of her mother's fear. We're not moving, Maya says. She doesn't know if that's true, but she says it like it is, because that is the only thing she has to give her daughter right now. The sound of certainty, even when everything inside her is the opposite. If you are watching this right now, if this story is already sitting in your chest a little, please stop for 1 second and hit that subscribe button. Share this with one person who needs to feel something today. Drop a comment and tell me what you're feeling right now, because this story is just getting started, and you do not want to miss what happens next. Maya works the dinner shift at a diner called Patty's on Halsted Street. It is the kind of place where the coffee is always hot, the pie is always good, and the tips are always just slightly less than what you need them to be. She has worked there for 3 years. She knows every regular by name, every order by heart, every cheap tipper by face. She is clearing a table when her phone buzzes. She wipes her hands on her apron and checks it, expecting her sister Diane. They have this ritual. Diane checks in around 9 every night, just to make sure Maya is still standing, still breathing, still herself. She opens the text without looking at the name. You send me something? A voice message? I think it's 3 minutes long. Maya stares at the screen. That is not Diane's number. The area code is wrong. The last 4 digits are wrong. Her stomach drops 3 floors. She scrolls up fast. And there it is, sent at 6:47 p.m. while she was walking from her apartment to the bus stop, while she thought she was pressing Diane's name in her contacts, while she was not paying attention because she was too busy calculating how many shifts she needed to cover rent. 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Sent to a contact she doesn't recognize. A number she must have saved by accident, or called once and never deleted, or some other small, careless thing she did at some unmemorable moment that is now, tonight, the worst thing she has ever done. She knows what's in that voice note. She knows because she recorded it herself, standing on the sidewalk outside her building, because she couldn't call Diane, because Diane was at work, because she needed to say it out loud to someone, even if that someone wasn't available, even if that someone would only hear it later. That is the kind of relationship they have. Leave me a message. I'll hear it when I can. I'll call you back when I can breathe. She had talked for 3 minutes and 47 seconds. About the rent, about the hours, about how the lights flickered twice yesterday, and she sat there praying it wasn't the beginning of something she couldn't afford to fix. About Bree asking if they were moving again. About how she almost cried right there at the kitchen table in front of her daughter and had to dig her fingernails into her palm to stop herself. About how she is so tired. Not sleepy tired. So tired. The kind of tired that sleeps don't fix. About how she is trying so hard and nothing is moving and she doesn't understand what she is doing wrong. And she needs someone to tell her she is not failing. She just needs someone to tell her that just once, just one person, all of that, all of it, in a stranger's inbox. She types back, wrong number. I'm sorry. Please delete that. She presses send. She puts her phone in her apron pocket. She goes back to work. She does not cry. She saves it for later, for the bus ride home, for after Bree is asleep, for the 11 minutes she gives herself in the bathroom every night where she sits on the edge of the tub and lets herself feel whatever she couldn't feel in front of her daughter. She is very good at scheduling her grief. 17 floors above the city, in a building that Maya has walked past 3,000 times and never thought about, a man named Marcus Webb is sitting at his dining room table eating food he cannot taste. This is not a metaphor. He literally cannot taste it. A side effect of medication he started 8 months ago, after his doctor used the word dangerous in reference to his blood pressure and the word serious in reference to what would happen if he didn't slow down. And Marcus had sat in that office nodding at all the right times while internally calculating how many conference calls he could take on the drive back. Marcus Webb is 51 years old. He built his first company at 24 with $11,000 and a business plan written on the back of a Popeyes bag, which is still framed on the wall of his office, not as a joke, but as a reminder. He sold that company at 31 for $47 million. He built 2 more after that. He lost one completely during the 2008 crash, which is not something he discusses, but is something that lives in him still, quietly, the way old injuries live in a body, mostly invisible, sometimes sharp. He built back, then he built bigger, and then he built the kind of thing you read about in magazines, the kind of thing that makes other wealthy people give him a certain look at certain events, the kind of thing that means his assistant has an assistant and his driver knows to keep the partition up and his phone screen is filled with messages he has read but not answered because answering requires caring, and caring requires feeling, and Marcus Webb has not been sure he is still capable of feeling for a while now. And his ex-wife Claudia left him 4 years ago. She did not leave because he was cruel. She left because, she said, talking to him was like talking to a very well-dressed wall. He had not disputed this. He had said, okay, and asked about the logistics of separation, and that, somehow, was the thing that convinced her most of all that she was right to go. He has a son, Elijah, 19 years old, in college, calls him on his birthday and major holidays with a warmth that is genuine but careful, the way you are warm with someone you love but have learned not to rely on. Marcus has everything that is supposed to matter. He feels almost none of it. He is eating food he cannot taste when his phone buzzes on the table. He picks it up. He sees a voice message from a number he doesn't recognize. 3 minutes long. He almost ignores it. He almost sets the phone face down and goes back to staring at food he cannot enjoy. Instead, he presses play. He does not know why. He will think about this later. Why he pressed play on an unknown voice message at 7:04 on a Tuesday evening. He does not have a good answer. Maybe he was bored. Maybe some part of him, some stubborn remaining piece, was still curious about what the world might offer him unannounced. He presses play, and he hears her, not the words first, the sound first, the specific acoustic texture of someone trying very hard not to cry while they talk, that controlled unevenness, that pause and recover rhythm, That thing people do when they are speaking to someone they trust and still trying to hold themselves together. He has a sister who cried like that once, years ago, when she called him about their father. He recognizes it the way you recognize a language you grew up around but don't speak fluently anymore. Then the words. He sits very still. He is a man who sits through 2-hour board meetings without shifting in his chair, who has heard bad news delivered across mahogany tables and responded without blinking, who once negotiated a $200 million deal over the phone while standing in the rain and felt nothing but focus. He sits still and listens to a woman he has never met tell the truth in 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Not polished truth, not curated truth. The kind you only say out loud when you think nobody important is listening. The kind you tell your sister. The kind that has no strategy in it, no self-protection. Just, here is where I am. Here is what it costs. Here's how tired I am. Please just tell me I'm not failing. The message ends. He sits for a moment. His food is getting cold. He doesn't notice. He picks up his phone. He sees a follow-up text. Wrong number. I'm sorry. Please delete that. He sets the phone down. He picks it up. He sets it down. He looks at the city through his floor-to-ceiling windows. All that light. All that life. All those people he doesn't know living in apartments he could buy and sell without looking up from his desk. He thinks about deleting the message. He should delete the message. The woman asked him to delete the message. He doesn't delete the message. He tells himself it's because he hasn't decided yet. But that's not true. The truth is something he doesn't want to name yet. Something that happened in his chest while he was listening. Something small and almost forgotten. Like a pilot light flickering back on in a furnace that hasn't run all winter. He types, I listened to it. He stares at those 4 words. He presses send before he can talk himself out of it. Then he puts the phone face down, pushes back on the table, walks to his window, and stands there looking at the city for a long time. Maya is on the bus home when a reply comes. 4 words. She reads them 3 times. Her first feeling is horror. Pure, scalding want-to-disappear horror. A stranger listened to all of it. A man she doesn't know heard her talking about her daughter, asking if they were moving. Heard her saying she didn't know what she was doing wrong. Heard her saying she was so tired. Heard all of it. Her second feeling, which comes a few seconds after, is harder to name, because underneath the horror, there is something else. Something smaller. Something that almost feels like being seen, even by accident, even by a stranger, even by someone she will never meet and should never speak to again. She types, that was private. I'm embarrassed. Please just delete it. His reply comes in 40 seconds. You asked me to delete it. I didn't. I should apologize for that. I'm sorry. She stares at the screen. Then, are you okay? 3 words. And Maya sits on that bus with the city moving outside the windows and reads those 3 words and feels something she doesn't have room for right now. Something warm and inconvenient and slightly dangerous. Press against the inside of her chest. A stranger asking if she is okay. A real question. Not the, how are you, people say when they don't want an answer. The actual question. 3 words with real weight in them. She puts her phone in her pocket. She does not answer. She gets home. She pays the babysitter. She checks on Bree, already asleep, one arm around a stuffed giraffe named Gerald, which she named before Maya knew anyone named Gerald, and the coincidence now feels like the universe's idea of a joke. She stands in the doorway of her daughter's room for a long time, just watching her breathe. Then she goes to the kitchen. She makes tea she probably shouldn't spend the tea bags on. She sits at the table. She picks up her phone. She types, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. She almost sends it. She deletes it. She types, no. She stares at that one word for a long time. She sends it. Marcus is in his home office reading a contract he has read 4 times tonight without retaining any of it when her answer comes. 1 word. He sets the contract down. He has spoken to heads of state. He has negotiated with people who had armies behind them. He has had conversations that move markets. None of them required as much of him as typing a response to this 1 word from a woman whose name he doesn't know. He types, do you want to talk about it? You don't have to. He reads it twice. It sounds strange. It sounds like something from a different version of him, an older version, the one before the walls went up. He sends it. He is not sure what he expects. She writes back 12 minutes later. Why are you being nice to me? You don't know me. He thinks about that for a while. He thinks about all the true answers. He thinks about the voice note and the pilot light and the 47-story view of a city full of people he doesn't know. He types, I know you're not okay. That's enough to start with. They text until 1 a.m. Maya doesn't plan this. She is not a woman who stays up past 10 on a work night. She is not a woman who talks to strangers. She is not a woman who has the emotional bandwidth for anything that doesn't involve keeping herself and her daughter alive and housed and fed. And yet, she tells him about the diner, about the tips, about the table in the corner where an old man named Robert sits every Thursday and orders the same thing, black coffee, blueberry pie, 2 sugars, and always leaves $3 in a note. The notes are always something brief. Good service. You're efficient. One time it said, you have good posture, and Maya kept that one in her apron pocket for a week because it made her laugh. She does not tell him about the rent, not in detail. She is not asking him for anything. She wants to be clear about that in her own mind. She is just talking to someone who asked. Marcus tells her almost nothing about himself. Not his last name, not his job, not the 47 floors. He tells her he hasn't eaten a meal he actually tasted in 8 months. He tells her his son is in college and calls on his birthday. He tells her the last time he laughed, really laughed, the kind you can't plan, was watching a video of a goat climbing on top of a car and refusing to come down, and that this felt like important diagnostic information about where his life had gone. She laughs. He can't hear her laugh, but he can tell she laughed because she writes, I can't. I actually can't. And then, okay, but the goat was right. That car was asking for it. He reads that, and something happens in his face that he does not notice until he passes a mirror in his hallway and sees it. His face is doing something it hasn't done in a while. He is smiling, not the social smile, not the press conference smile, the actual one. At 1:04 a.m., she writes, I have to sleep. I have a 6 a.m. shift. He writes, okay. She writes, thank you for not deleting it. He sits with that for a long time. Thank you for sending it. She goes offline. He stays at his window for another hour, just thinking, not about the contract, not about the board meeting tomorrow, not about the medication he needs to take that will not help him taste his food, about a woman named. He doesn't even know her name, about a voice note he should have deleted, about the strange, specific feeling of something beginning. 3 days pass. They text every night. They have not exchanged names. Not intentionally. It just hasn't happened the way it would in a normal introduction, because nothing about this is normal. She thinks of him as wrong number. He thinks of her as... He doesn't have a word for it. He uses her in his head as a fixed point, the way sailors used to use stars. On the second night, she tells him about Bree. She doesn't mean to go that deep, but he asks if she has kids, and she starts answering, and then she's telling him about Bree's homework face, and the stuffed giraffe named Gerald, and the way Bree said, Mommy, you made your worried face, and didn't even look up from her spelling words. Marcus sits very still while he reads this. He thinks about Elijah at 7. He barely remembers it. He was working. He was always working. He has this one photograph from when Elijah was 7. His son's birthday. Cake on the table, Elijah grinning that wide-open grin kids have before they learn to be careful with their happiness. And Marcus is standing slightly to the left of the frame, phone in his hand, looking at something else. He has looked at that photograph many times over the years. He has never known what to do with what it makes him feel. He types, she sounds like someone remarkable. Maya writes back, she's the reason I'm still standing. He reads that sentence, and something in his chest does the thing again, the pilot light thing, and this time it doesn't flicker. It holds. On the third night, she almost doesn't text. She is exhausted in a way that has gone past the body and settled into something deeper. The rent is in 1 day. She has 60% of what she needs. She has called every person she can reasonably call. She has done the math 17 different ways, and the math says the same thing every time. She almost doesn't text him because she doesn't want him to know. She doesn't want this, whatever this is, this strange, warm, accidental thing, to become about money. She doesn't want to be a cause. She doesn't want his pity. She wants, in this one small corner of her life, to just be a person talking to another person, not a situation to be solved. But she opens the phone, and there's already a message from him. How are you tonight? She stares at it. She types. Honest answer or polite answer? He writes immediately. I've been getting your honest answers for 3 days. Don't stop now. She thinks about that. She thinks about the voice note. About no. About all of it. She writes. Tomorrow is the 1st. I have 60% of my rent. And I'm sitting on the floor of my kitchen because I'm too tired to get up. And I'm not going to ask you for anything. I just wanted to say that out loud to someone. I'm sorry. She puts the phone down, face down, on the kitchen floor, next to her. She sits there. She doesn't look at the phone for 9 minutes. When she picks it up, there are 3 messages. Don't apologize. Can I ask you something? What's your address? Maya stares at those 3 words. What's your address? And every sensible thing in her fires at once. Every self-preservation instinct. Every street-smart reflex she has developed over 34 years of navigating a world that does not always protect women like her. She does not answer for a long time. She types, Why? He writes, Because I want to help. She writes, You don't know me. He writes, I know you're on your kitchen floor. I know you haven't asked me for anything in 3 days when most people would have asked on night 1. I know your daughter's stuffed giraffe is named Gerald. I know you're not okay and you're too proud to say so, and I respect that more than you know. That's more than I know about most people I see every day. Maya reads this 3 times. She is not a woman who cries easily. She is a woman who schedules her grief and takes it in the bathroom in 11-minute portions. She is a woman who made her face calm in the hallway when the landlord was knocking. Her eyes sting. She writes, I'm not giving my address to a strange man I met by sending a voice note to the wrong number. He writes, That's the smartest thing you said. She almost laughs. He writes, But I need you to know I'm not going to let you lose that apartment. I don't know how yet, but I'm not going to let that happen. That's not a line. That's just what I'm telling you. She sits there on her kitchen floor and reads that sentence, and something in her, something that has been clenched tight for months, maybe years, loosens just slightly, like a fist opening one finger at a time. She writes, You don't get to promise me things. You don't know me enough to promise me things. He writes, You're right, but I'm going to keep that promise anyway. She doesn't respond to that. She gets up off the floor. She goes to bed. She does not sleep for a long time. The next morning, Maya gets to work at 6 and starts her shift and does not think about him. This is a decision she makes consciously, firmly. She is not a woman who floats around in feelings when there is work to be done. She takes orders. She refills coffee. She talks to Robert in the corner booth. It's Thursday, blueberry pie, 2 sugars, black coffee, and he leaves his $3 in his note. The note says, Still standing. Good. Maya tucks it into her apron pocket. At 9:14 a.m., her phone buzzes. She is between tables. She pulls it out for half a second. It's not wrong number. It's a text from her bank. She almost doesn't read it. She reads it. It is a deposit notification. An amount she does not understand. An amount that is exactly what she is sure on rent, down to the dollar. From a sender listed only as an external transfer, no name attached. Processed at 8:31 a.m. She stands between tables 4 and 7 in Patty's Diner on Halsted Street and reads this notification 3 times. Then she texts him. She doesn't say thank you. She says, How? He writes back, I have resources. She writes, I didn't give you my account number. He writes, No, you gave me enough other information over 3 days that someone who wanted to find the right account could find it. I want to be transparent about that. I'm sorry if that feels like an invasion. It wasn't meant to. She reads this. She should be frightened by this. She thinks about whether she is frightened by this. She checks herself carefully the way she checks Bree's backpack, thoroughly, looking for anything wrong. She is not frightened. She is something else entirely. Something that sits adjacent to terrified, but feels nothing like it. Something that has warmth in it, and edges, and no name she is ready. She types, "Who are you?" He takes 4 minutes to reply. Someone who heard your voice note and made a different choice than most people would. She stares at that. She puts her phone away. She goes back to work. She refills coffee. She takes an order. She does the job. She thinks about that sentence for the next 4 hours. That night she texts him, "I need to know your name." He writes, "Marcus." She writes, "What do you do, Marcus?" He pauses. She can see the 3 dots appear and disappear twice. He writes, "I build things." "What kind of things?" "Companies. Mostly. Are you rich?" He takes a moment. "Yes." She sits with that one letter for a long time. How rich. Very. She puts the phone down. She picks it back up. "I'm Maya." He writes back immediately, like he was waiting for it. Maya. Just her name. Nothing else. But the way he writes it, she can feel that he has been waiting to know it, that it means something to him to finally have it. "I can pay you back," she says. "You don't have to." "I know I don't have to. I'm telling you I'm going to." 3 dots. Then, "Okay." "I need you to understand something," she writes. "I'm not looking for a rescuer. I'm not looking for anything. I sent a voice note to the wrong number, and you were kind to me, and I'm grateful. But I need you to know I'm not a project. I'm not a charity case. I'm a person." She is breathing a little fast when she sends this. She doesn't know why it matters so much that he understands this. But it matters more than almost anything right now. His reply takes 2 minutes. "I know you're a person, Maya. You're the most person I've talked to in 4 years. She reads that sentence. She reads it again. That's either the sweetest thing anyone has ever said to me or the saddest thing I've ever heard. Probably both, he writes. She laughs. Out loud. In her kitchen. At 11 p.m. And it is real. The kind that surprises you. The kind you weren't braced for. Bree appears in the kitchen doorway. Hair all messed up. Squinting at the light. "Mommy, why are you laughing?" "Go back to sleep, baby." "You sound happy." "Go to bed." Bree shuffles back down the hall. Maya sits in her kitchen holding her phone, and the laugh settles into something quieter, and she thinks. When is the last time her daughter said that to her? When is the last time Bree heard her laugh like that, unprompted, unperformed, genuinely? She writes to Marcus, "My daughter just woke up because she heard me laugh." He writes, "Was that a problem?" "No," she writes. "She said I sounded happy." A long pause. Then, "Good." Just that one word. Good. 2 weeks pass. They text every day. Sometimes during the day. Short things. Quick things. She sent him a picture of Robert's note one Thursday. "You have excellent reflexes." He sends her back nothing for a moment, and then, "I'd like to meet Robert." She laughs again. She is laughing more. Bree has noticed. Bree hasn't said anything specific, but she has started leaving Maya alone in the kitchen some nights. Just go in her room, understanding in that 7-year-old animal way that her mother needs some private time, and that the private time is making her lighter. Marcus changes things he doesn't tell Maya he's changing. He has dinner at his table every night now. He started tasting things again, or maybe the medication adjusted, or maybe something else adjusted. He doesn't know. He eats and notices whether things are good or not, and this feels like a small return of something he had declared gone. He calls Elijah, not on a scheduled day, not a birthday or a holiday, just a Tuesday. He calls and says, "I was thinking about you," and Elijah is quiet for a moment in a way that means he is recalibrating, and then he says, "Yeah? What were you thinking?" And they talk for 40 minutes. 40 minutes about nothing specific. Elijah's classes. A book Marcus just read. A story about Elijah's roommate, who keeps making food that smells like something died in the kitchen. 40 minutes. Marcus tells no one about Maya. Not his assistant. Not his driver. Not the one friend he has who is close enough to know what's actually happening in his life. He knows why he doesn't tell anyone. It's fragile, whatever this is. It's the most real thing in his immediate world. And real things break when you introduce them to people who have opinions about them. Maya tells Diane. Of course she tells Diane. She cannot not tell Diane. Diane is the person she calls in the bathroom. Diane is the voice note recipient. Diane is the entire reason this happened. Diane's response is, wait. The wrong number, man. The one who sent you the money? Maya, I know. Maya, I need you to hear me. As someone who loves you, this man could be anyone. I know. I mean, he knows your bank account. He knows your daughter's name. He knows where you live, probably. Diane. What? I know. I know all of that. I've thought about all of that. And a pause. And something in me says he's not that. Diane is quiet for a moment. What does he say when you ask about himself? He answers. He answers with enough and not more. Like he's not trying to impress me. Like he's just being level. Have you seen a picture? No. Maya, I know. Ask for a picture. That feels weird. You're texting a billionaire every night, and a picture feels weird. I don't know he's a billionaire. He said very rich. Maya, very rich. He found your bank account in 3 days. He paid your rent without blinking. He's a billionaire. Maya, what are you doing? This is the question. The real question. The one Maya asks herself in the dark. What is she doing? She doesn't know. She knows what she isn't doing. She isn't falling for him. She isn't building some fantasy. She is not an idiot who doesn't understand the distance between their lives. She understands the distance. She measures it daily. The math is not lost on her. She works at a diner for tips, and he is whoever he is, and those two things do not add up into anything that makes sense. But something is happening. Something that doesn't have rent in it, or strategy, or anything calculated. Something that is just real. The way Robert's notes are real. The way Bree's giraffe named Gerald is real. Small and specific, and completely itself. I don't know what I'm doing, she tells Diane. Okay, Diane says, just be careful. I'm always careful. No, Diane says, you're always strong. That's not the same thing. On a Wednesday 3 weeks after the voice note, Marcus makes a decision. He has never been a man who makes decisions slowly. He identifies a variable, calculates the risk, decides. It has made him very successful, and it has not made him very happy. And the gap between those two things is something he is slowly, uncomfortably learning to sit inside. She doesn't answer until 3 p.m. In person? Yes. Why? He thinks about this. He types and deletes 3 different answers. Because I'd like to know if you're real. She takes a long time. I'm real. I know. I mean, I'd like to know if this is real. What's been happening? I'd like to know in person. Another pause. Marcus, I need to say something, and I need you to hear it. Okay. I'm a 34-year-old black woman who works at a diner and has a 7-year-old daughter in an apartment I almost lost. Whatever world you live in, and I think I'm starting to understand what world you live in, I don't live there. I'm not going to pretend I do. And I'm not looking for a door into that world. I'm not. Maya, I'm not finished. Okay, I'm not looking for anything that comes with conditions or obligation or I'm not a project, Marcus. I've said this before. I'll keep saying it until you believe me. I believe you. Do you? Yes. And I want you to know something. He pauses. Types. Deletes. Types again. I'm not doing this because I want to fix something. I've fixed things my whole life. I know what that feels like. This doesn't feel like that. This feels like... I don't know what this feels like. That's why I want to meet you. Because I'd like to figure out what this is while I'm still in it. Silence from her end. Long enough that he wonders. Then, public place. He almost smiles. Of course. I picked the place. Okay. Don't show up in anything that announces itself. He thinks about the cars. He thinks about the driver. He thinks about the way he moves through the world and the amount of infrastructure that moves with him. Okay, he says. And Marcus. Yes. I'm not going to look you up before we meet. I don't want to Google you and know everything before I see your face. Is that strange? He thinks about this. He thinks about what she would find. The Forbes list. The magazine covers, the board memberships and the legal disputes and the op-eds and all the machinery of a public life. He thinks about how he has felt talking to her at night, like someone who didn't have all of that on them, like just a man with a goat video and a son in college and food he couldn't taste. That's not strange, he says. That's the most decent thing anyone has offered me in a long time. She picks a park. Not a fancy one. The kind of park that has a dog area and a rusted swing set and a hot dog cart near the entrance that's been there since 1987, and 3 benches that are never all empty at the same time, but are sometimes one of them empty. She tells him, the bench by the east entrance. Saturday, 2 in the afternoon. She does not tell Bree. She tells Diane, who says, I want a picture the second you see him. And Maya says, absolutely not. And Diane says, Maya, I'm going to physically die. And Maya says, goodbye, Diane. She gets there 10 minutes early. She sits on the bench. She thought carefully about what to wear. She did not want to perform anything. She wore what she would wear on a day she liked herself. Dark jeans, a yellow sweater that Bree says makes her look like sunshine, earrings her mother gave her, clean white sneakers. She sits on the bench and watches the park and is somehow calm. She is calm in a specific way. She is calm in situations that are completely outside her control. She has stopped trying to manage it and simply arrived in it. At exactly 2 o'clock, she watches a man walk through the east entrance. He is not what she expected. She does not know exactly what she expected. Something louder, somehow, something that announces itself. But he walks in wearing dark pants and a simple gray jacket, and no one is with him, and he is looking around with this expression she recognizes immediately because she has felt it. The expression of someone who wants to find you before you find them, the slight vulnerability of being the person who might be seen first. He sees her. He stops for 1 full second. She thinks, he wasn't expecting me either. She does not know how she looks to him. She is not seeing herself. She is seeing him. The way his face arranges itself when he sees her, the way something relaxes in it, the way the man who was looking becomes a man who found what he was looking for, and the transition between those two things happens in less than a second and is completely unguarded. He walks over. He sits down on the other end of the bench. Not close, not far. The right distance for 2 people who know each other only in the dark, on phones, in voice and text, and are now making a translation into daylight. Maya, he says. Not a question. Her name, the same way he texted it. Marcus, she says. They look at each other. You're real, he says. Told you, she says. And that is how it starts. They sit on that bench for 2 hours. No one walking to the park would know anything about either of them. A woman in a yellow sweater and a man in a gray jacket sitting on a bench talking, which is a thing that happens in parks every day without being anything at all. But it is something. It is a specific something that happens when 2 people who have already told each other the truth, before they saw each other's face, before they knew each other's history or context or what the world has decided they are worth, finally sit in the same physical space. There is no performance. That's the thing. There is no performance because they have already gotten past the part where you perform. She already sent him the voice note. He already sent her the money and told her it felt different. They are meeting in the middle of something, not at the beginning of it, and that means they can just be there. He buys 2 hot dogs from the cart near the entrance. Pays cash. Does not make a thing of it. She notices the cash, the not making a thing of it. Files it without comment. She tells him about coming to Chicago from Detroit at 19 with $200 and a plan she made up on the bus. He listens the way he listened to her voice note. Completely quietly, like there's nowhere else to be. She asks him about the company he lost in 2008. She doesn't know about it. But something in the way he said, I build things made her ask, did you ever build something that didn't work? And the way his face moves when he answers, the way the answer costs him something real, tells her this is not small. I lost everything I had built up to that point. He says, money, yes, but mostly who I thought I was, what I thought I could control. It took me a long time to understand that losing it was the most important thing that ever happened to me. I learned what I was actually made of, which was both better and worse than I thought. She looks at him. Better how? I built back. I didn't know I had that in me. I thought it was the money doing the work. It wasn't. Worse how? He looks at the park, at the kids on the swing set, at the dog running in wide loops in the dog area. I stopped letting things matter, he says. Anything that could be taken, I stopped letting it matter, as a protection. And it worked. Nothing's been taken since. But nothing's, he stops. Nothing's landed, she says. He looks at her. She shrugs. You said you couldn't taste food. You said your son calls on schedule. You said the last time you laughed was a goat video. I'm saying nothing's landed. He's quiet for a moment. No, he says finally. Nothing has. She looks at him directly. Until 3 weeks ago. It's not a question. He doesn't treat it like one. He says, the park keeps happening around them. Kids and dogs and the hot dog cart and the distant sound of a basketball game and the city doing what the city does. They sit there in the middle of all of it. Two people who found each other entirely by accident, and the thing between them settles in, real and warm and slightly terrifying the way that only truly real things are. She does not Google him when she gets home. She tells herself it's because she said she wouldn't. But the real reason is that she knows that if she Googles him, the information will change the texture of what happened on that bench. It will put numbers next to him. Photos taken by photographers at events he attended. The machinery of a public life. And right now, what she has is a man in a gray jacket who bought a hot dog with cash and sat on a park bench and told her about 2008 like it still lived in him. She wants to keep that a little longer. She almost makes it. It's Bree who does it. 3 days after the park, Maya is in the living room and Bree wanders in from school and they are doing homework together, which means Bree is doing homework and Maya is half reading a magazine when Bree says, completely out of nowhere, Mommy, who's Marcus Webb? Maya's magazine stops moving. What? Marcus Webb. I saw his name on your phone when you had a text come in. The name was on the screen. Maya sets the magazine down. He's a friend. A friend or a friend? You're 7. Where did you learn the difference? From school. What is wrong with that school? Bree grins. Is he nice? Maya thinks about the park bench, about the way he sat the right distance away, about the hot dog with cash. Yes, she says, he's nice. Is he the reason you've been happy? Maya looks at her daughter, 7 years old, the most precise person she has ever encountered. He's part of it, she says carefully. Bree nods like this is a satisfying and complete answer and goes back to her homework. Maya goes to the bathroom. She sits on the edge of the tub. She picks up her phone. She types Marcus Webb into the search bar. She stares at the results for a long time. Then she puts her phone down, stands up, runs cold water, and stands with her wrists under the cold water for a minute, the way her grandmother used to tell her to do when her brain got too hot. She picks up the phone again. She looks at the number on the Forbes list. She looks at the magazine covers, the handshake photos, the board of directors listings, the philanthropy announcements, the one article from 4 years ago about his divorce, brief and bloodless, 2 paragraphs. Mutual decision. She looks at all of it, and then she texts him, "Why didn't you tell me?" He replies in 90 seconds. "Tell you what?" Don't do that. You know what? A pause. Then, I kept waiting for the right moment. And the right moment was after I spent 3 weeks telling you about my diner, and my diner tips, and my daughter's homework, and my... She stops, deletes, types again. You let me talk about my 60% rent situation to a man on a Forbes list. Maya, I'm not on a Forbes list, Marcus. I'm not anywhere near a Forbes list. I am so far from a Forbes list that Forbes doesn't even know that people like me exist. That's not. I need to think. She puts the phone down. She sits on the bathroom edge again. She is not angry. Exactly. She is something more complicated than angry. She is recalibrating. She is taking the 3 weeks of conversations and the park bench and the gray jacket and the hot dog and placing them next to the Forbes number and the magazine covers and try and make them fit in the same frame. They don't fit. Not yet. She takes her 11 minutes. Then she goes and finishes homework with Bree. She makes dinner. She gives Bree a bath. She reads her 2 chapters of the book they're working through together about a girl who finds a dragon in a library which is Bree's favorite book and Maya's secret favorite too. She tucks her in. She kisses her forehead. She turns off the light. She goes to the kitchen. She picks up the phone. I need you to understand, she types, that I built everything I have, which I know is not a lot, but it's mine, without anyone's help, without a safety net, without someone to call. And that means that anything that feels like charity is a thing in the world I am least able to receive. I know. Do you? Yes. It's why you didn't ask me for the money. It's why you told me you were going to pay me back the same night I sent it. Then why didn't you tell me who you were? A pause. A real one. Long enough that she wonders. Because, he writes, for 3 weeks, you were the only person in my life who talked to me like I was just a person, not a resource, not a contact, not a transaction. And I was selfish about it. I held on to it longer than I should have because I didn't know when I'd feel that again. She reads this. She reads it again. Until 3 weeks ago, she thinks about what Diane said. You're always strong. That's not the same thing as careful. She thinks about the way he said, I know you're a person, Maya. You're the most person I've talked to in 4 years. She types, I'm still going to pay you back. He writes, I know. And we need to talk about this. Properly, not just text. Okay, when? This weekend. Same bench. Okay. And Marcus? Yes. I looked you up. I know. How do you know? Because you're the most direct person I've ever talked to, and you wouldn't have texted me the way you just did if you hadn't. She almost smiles. She doesn't. She puts the phone down. She sits in her kitchen for a long time. On Saturday, the bench. This time it is different. This time they both know more. This time the gray jacket has numbers attached to it, and the yellow sweater is part of a story she has already told him, and they sit down across from all of that together like two people sitting down across from weather. Ask me anything, he says. She looks at him. Did you feel sorry for me? No, not at all. I felt moved. There's a difference. Pity looks at people from above. What I felt wasn't above. It was, he thinks, level. She considers this. I need you to understand something about my life, she says. I don't have room for complications. I have a daughter and a job and an apartment and a very small margin for error. Every decision I make is load-bearing. Do you understand what I mean by that? I think so. I mean that I don't have the luxury of something going wrong with a person and then just recovering. There's no buffer. There's no room. So if this, she gestures at the space between them, if this is going to be something, I need it to be honest. From the beginning. No more waiting for the right moment. No more holding back the inconvenient parts. He looks at her directly. Okay. Okay, what? I'm 51 years old. I've been divorced for 4 years. My son is at college in Atlanta, and I have a photograph from his 7th birthday where I'm looking at my phone, and I've never known what to do with how much I hate myself in that photo. I have more money than I know what to do with, and I haven't been happy about any of it in years. I've been described as emotionally unavailable, which is accurate, and I've been told I work instead of feeling things, which is also accurate. I don't know how to be in a relationship that isn't transactional, because somewhere along the way I stopped knowing how to give something that didn't have a return on it. Except, he stops. Except, she says, except for the last month. Talking to you. That has had no ROI whatsoever, and it's the most valuable thing I've done in years. She is quiet for a moment. ROI, she says. Return on. I know what it means. He almost winces. Sorry. Marcus, I need you to hear this. I'm not an investment opportunity. I'm not a return. I'm not a thing you build, or a thing you fix, or a thing you fund. Her voice is even, not angry, certain. I'm a person, and the only thing I can give you is that. Exactly that. And the only thing I need from you is the same. He looks at her for a long time. That's the most I've ever wanted from anything, he says. She looks at him. He means it. She can see that he means it. She is very good at reading people. 34 years in a diner full of strangers will do that, and there is no performance in his face right now. There is just a man sitting on a park bench being, for once, completely uncovered. Okay, she says. Okay, what? Okay, we figured this out. But my rules. What are your rules? I'll tell you as we go. He almost smiles. That's terrifying. Good, she says, means you're paying attention. It is not a simple thing that follows. Nothing real is simple. There's a question of what this looks like in the actual world. Outside of bench conversations and late-night texts, outside of protected space they built by accident, there's a question of Bree. Not whether he will meet her, but when and how, and who he will be to her if he does, and what happens if this falls apart and Maya has to explain to her daughter why the kind man is gone. There is a question of his world, which she has now looked at, and which is enormous and populated with people who have loud opinions about her. There is a question of her pride, which is not vanity but structure, the load-bearing element of her entire self, the thing that kept her standing when nothing else did. There is the question of what she deserves. This is the one she comes back to. Late at night, after the texts are done and the kitchen is quiet, she comes back to this question, not in a self-pitying way, in the way of someone trying to be honest with themselves. What does she deserve? Not what is she allowed. Not what is practical. What does she actually deserve? Diane says on the phone one night, Maya, I'm going to say something and I need you to not be defensive. I'm already defensive. You are the most prepared for the worst person I know. You have a plan for every bad outcome. You have emergency protocols for your emergency protocols. You have spent 7 years being ready for things to fall apart. Pause. Do you have a plan for something going right? Maya is quiet. I'm serious. Do you know how to receive something good? Or does it feel so unfamiliar that your first instinct is to find a threat in it? Maya is quiet for longer. Diane. Yeah. I hate when you do this. I know. It means I'm right. Maya sits in her kitchen. She thinks about the yellow sweater. About sitting on the bench and thinking. He's real. About Bree waking up to the sound of her laughing. I don't know how to receive something good, she says. It costs her to say it. She says it anyway. Then learn, Diane says. You learned everything else by yourself. You can learn this too. He meets Bree on a Sunday afternoon, 6 weeks after the voice note. Maya does not make it a big thing. She tells Bree that a friend is coming to the park with them. Bree says, is it Marcus? And Maya says, how do you? And Bree says, you smile different when you're texting him. And Maya says, you're entirely too observant for 7. And Bree says, thank you, like this is a compliment, which it is. He arrives at the park with no car, no driver, no one. He is carrying a bag. In the bag is a book, the one about a girl who finds a dragon in a library. He found out the title 3 weeks ago in a text conversation and said nothing, and Maya didn't notice him saying nothing. He gives it to Bree. It is a signed copy. She doesn't know about the signed copy until Bree opens the cover and screams a little. She signed it. Mommy, she actually signed it. Maya looks at Marcus. He looks back at her. The same face he made at the park the first time. Completely unguarded. The author lives in Chicago. He says, I know people. You know people. Maya repeats. I didn't make it weird. You absolutely made it weird. She's screaming, though. Good screaming. Bree is clutching the book to her chest and spinning. Maya watches her daughter spin. She looks at this man she has known for 6 weeks, who found a signed copy of her daughter's favorite book because he was paying attention, who was standing in her park in his simple clothes, not performing anything, who heard her voice note and made a different choice than most people would. She does not say what she is feeling. Not yet. It's too early, and she knows it's too early, and she is a woman who respects timelines and the importance of knowing when something needs more room to become itself. But she looks at him, and he looks at her, and Bree spins. The complications come. Of course they do. 6 weeks after the park, Marcus's assistant, a sharp, efficient woman named Portia, who has been with him for 9 years and whom Marcus trusts more than almost anyone, sees Maya's name on his calendar and asks, carefully, who she is. Marcus says, a friend. Portia, who has a particular skill of seeing around corners that makes her extraordinary at her job, says, is she someone I should know about in a professional capacity? No. Personal capacity? Portia. Marcus, a woman named Maya Carter, who works at a diner in South Chicago, is showing up in your schedule twice a week, and you've moved 3 board calls to accommodate. That's enough. Portia stops. She is used to the voice. She closes her notebook. I'll need to know, she says carefully, if there's anything I should be aware from a security standpoint or a public standpoint. There isn't. Marcus, the Harrington deal is closing in 4 weeks. There will be cameras and coverage, and there isn't anything. He says it in a way that closes a conversation. Portia closes a conversation. She is very good at her job, but she makes a note. Maya finds out about the Harrington deal because she Googles it. She has started Googling him, not obsessively, but she wants to understand the world she is adjacent to. She wants to have her eyes open. The Harrington deal is the largest acquisition of Marcus's career. A commercial real estate portfolio spanning 4 cities, 300 properties, a number with 9 digits in it. The coverage is extensive. It will close, according to the articles, in approximately a month. In the coverage, there's a photo from a charity event 2 weeks ago. Marcus is in it. Black tie, looking like what he is, a man who inhabits that world without effort. Next to him is a woman named Victoria Harrington, daughter of the family whose company he is acquiring. She is looking at Marcus in the photo with an expression that Maya, who is very good at reading people, reads immediately and precisely. She is not the first to read it. The caption has already done the reading. Marcus Webb and Victoria Harrington at the National Arts Gala, the pair fueling speculation ahead of what sources call a landmark merger. Maya puts the phone down. She picks it up. She puts it down. She picks it up and texts him. I need you to see something. I'm going to send you a link. She sends the link. He calls her. Not texts. Calls. The phone rings and she answers, and his voice is the first time she has heard his voice since the park, and it sounds like what she expected. Low and certain and a little tired. Maya, that's nothing. That's a photo at an event. The caption says, the caption is what captions do. Speculation. There's nothing there. Marcus, I need to ask you something directly, and I need you to answer directly. Okay, is there anything between you and that woman that I should know about? No pause. No. She breathes. But, he says. She closes her eyes. The deal, he says. The acquisition. Her family is, they're old Chicago. Her father has strong feelings about who his daughter is associated with in a business context. And Portia has pointed out that any attention on my personal life right now could complicate. Marcus, I'm not saying. Are you asking me to be invisible? Silence. Because I have been invisible, she says. I know how to be invisible. I spent years being the person in the room that people look through, and I will not do that again. Not for anyone. Not for any number of zeros. Maya, that's not. Is that what you're asking me? No. His voice is firm. Certain. No. I'm telling you what Portia told me. I'm being transparent. The way you asked me to be. I'm not asking you for anything. She holds the phone. Then what are you asking? A pause. A real one. I'm asking you to trust me. For a little longer. While this closes. And then I want to stop managing things. I want to stop having a life that's arranged by logistics and quarterly cycles and optics. I want. He stops. What? She says. I want to be someone you don't have to convince yourself to trust. I want to be someone who has actually earned it. And I'm not there yet. I know I'm not there yet. But I'm asking for the chance to get there. She stands in her kitchen. She thinks about load-bearing decisions. She thinks about Diane saying, do you have a plan for something going right? She thinks about Bree spinning in the park with the signed book. I'm not waiting forever, she says. I know. And I'm not invisible. I know. And I'm going to need you to say the next thing you're planning to say out loud, because I can hear that you have a next thing. He breathes. I want you to come to the Harrington Gala. Silence. With me, he says, as not invisible, as the person I want people to know matters to me. I know the timing is. You want me to walk into a black tie event for $1 billion business deal as your. Yes. In 4 weeks. Yes. Marcus, I work at a diner. I know where you work. I know who you are. I want the rest of the room to know too. She stands in her kitchen. She has never been to a black tie event. She has never been anything that required her to be something other than exactly what she is. The thought of it, the cameras, the money, the room full of people who will look at her and know immediately and precisely that she doesn't belong there. It is not fear. Exactly. It's something that could become fear if she lets it. Why? She says. Why does it have to be that? Why can't it just be... Because I'm tired, he says, of managing, of arranging, of being strategic about the things that matter. I don't want to be strategic about you. I want to just be in the world with you, even if it's complicated, especially if it's complicated. She is quiet. I'll think about it. She says, okay, that doesn't mean yes. I know. It might mean no. I know. She hears him breathing on the other end of the phone. Maya. What? Thank you for answering when I called. She stands in the kitchen with the phone pressed to her ear and feels the whole complicated weight of this person, this situation, this thing she did not choose and cannot seem to undo wanting to. Go to bed, Marcus, she says. Okay. She hangs up. She goes to the bathroom. She sits on the edge of the tub. She does not count minutes tonight. She sits there for a long time, just breathing, just being present inside a decision she is not quite making yet. She says yes. She tells Marcus 2 days later, in a text at 11:43 p.m. in 3 words. Okay, I'm coming. His reply comes in 4 seconds. Thank you. Then, do you need... Do not finish that sentence. Okay, I'll handle it. She does handle it. She calls Diane, who responds by scheduling an emergency sister weekend that is really just an excuse for Diane to be involved, which Maya accepts because Diane's involvement is the price of Diane's support, and the support is worth the price. They find a dress. Not brand new. A consignment shop on the north side that Diane found. A specific deep green that does something remarkable to Maya's face. Something that Maya does not see until she looks in the mirror and stops moving for a second. Bree is staying with Diane that night. Maya has arranged everything. She has thought through every logistics of the evening, except the one that is not logistical, which is standing in a room full of people who will know everything about her situation at first glance, who will do the math on her and Marcus in 4 seconds, who will have opinions, and express them through their faces even when their mouths are saying something polite. She has thought about this. She has decided she can withstand it. She has also decided something else, something quiet and private that she has not said to anyone, not even Diane, not in the bathroom at 11 p.m., not anywhere. She has decided that she loves him. Not the fireworks version, not the songs version, the quiet version, the version that builds in the space between who you were before a person and who you are while they're paying attention, the version that showed up the night Bree spun in the park, and she looked at this man and felt, for the first time in years, like someone was in it with her. She has not said it. She will not say it tonight. Tonight is not a night for saying new things. Tonight is a night for simply showing up, present in full and without apology. She puts on the dress. She puts in her earrings, her mother's. She goes. The room is everything she expected. Big, full of light from chandeliers that probably cost more than her car. Full of people who wear this world like a second skin. Full of sound that is expensive in texture. The low register hum of important people being carefully relaxed. She arrives with Marcus, and he is different here, not cold, but calibrated. She sees a version of him that runs companies, the version that has the room move slightly toward him when he enters. She has known, intellectually, about this version. Standing next to it is something else. He puts his hand briefly on her back when they walk in, not claiming, steadying. She feels it and is grateful for it without showing the gratitude. Portia peers at his side immediately. She takes in Maya in one efficient second, her face revealing nothing. Mr. Webb, the Harrington family, is at table 7. Thank you, Portia. He does not move toward table 7. This is Maya Carter. Portia turns to Maya, the efficient second again. Then something passes behind her eyes. Quick, real surprise, and she says, "It's lovely to meet you. You too." Maya says, she means it. She can see that Portia is someone who is very good at her job, and that they would understand each other completely, and that they are both, in this moment, correctly sizing each other up Victoria Harrington finds him before Marcus finds her. She is everything the photograph suggested, polished to a specific luminosity that takes years of practice. She is looking at Marcus with a warm, proprietary look of someone who has decided something, and is now surprised that reality has not yet agreed. She looks at Maya. Something shifts behind her eyes. Very controlled. Very fast. Marcus. She says, Victoria. He turns. This is Maya Carter. How lovely, Victoria says. She says it to Marcus. Maya is important to me. Marcus says, there is nothing aggressive in the way he says it, nothing performative. It is simply a statement of fact in a room full of facts. Victoria receives it with a smile that does not reach anywhere useful. Of course, she says and moves on. Maya watches her go. She turns back to Marcus. You didn't have to do that, she says. I know, he says. I did it because it's true. She stands in this enormous room in her green dress and her mother's earrings and looks at this man, this specific, complicated, slowly opening man, and thinks about what she decided in her apartment before she left. She thinks, not tonight, not yet, but soon. The evening is long and full of people she navigates carefully and food that is extraordinary, and one conversation with a woman named Margot who is on 3 nonprofit boards, and who asks Maya what she does with the straightforward bluntness of someone used to getting information quickly. And when Maya says, I work at a diner, Margot says, oh, wonderful, which one? And Maya says, Patty's on Halstead, and Margot says, I used to go there. Does Robert still sit in the corner on Thursdays? And Maya stares at her, and Margot laughs and says, small world, isn't it? And Maya thinks, sometimes the world is exactly the right size. Near the end of the evening, she finds Marcus on a terrace outside the main room. He is standing with his hands in his pockets, looking at the city. She knows this pose. She has seen it described in her own head from the text he sent her once. I stand at my window sometimes for an hour, and it is exactly as she imagined. She goes and stands next to him. They stand there for a while. Thank you for tonight, he says. I should be saying that to you. Why? Because she thinks about how to say it. You did what you said you'd do. You stopped managing. He looks at her. She looks at the city. All those lights. The same city she looked at from a bus window every night. The same city, different altitude. Marcus, she says, yeah, I need to tell you something. He waits. She has practiced this, not in words exactly, but she has practiced the feeling of saying it, of letting something true move from inside to outside without stopping at the wall. I love you, she says. I didn't plan it, and it's not a strategy, and I'm not saying it to get anything or keep anything. I'm saying it because it's true and because you asked me to be honest, and this is the most honest thing I have. He is very still. She looks at him. He looks at her for a long moment. This man who built empires and lost one and built more and stopped tasting food and stood at windows for hours and heard a voice note and made a different choice. This man who bought a sign book and said, you're the most person I've talked to in 4 years, and paid her rent and asked to meet her and sat on a bench and told the truth. He says, Maya. She says, you don't have to. He says, I love you. Not fast, not performed. Slow and certain and coming from somewhere deep in him that she has been watching open incrementally for 3 months. I haven't said that to anyone in a very long time, he says. I know, she says. It's the truest thing I have right now. I know, she says. She does not cry. She promised herself she wouldn't. She saves it for the bathroom. She saves it for later. She reaches over and takes his hand. He looks at their hands. She looks at the city. The gala continues on the other side of the glass doors. All that noise and light, and importance and money. Out here on the terrace, there are just 2 people. A woman from Detroit with her mother's earrings on, and a man from the South Side who built things and forgot to feel them. Standing in the city they both belong to. Holding on. 6 weeks after the gala. Marcus calls her at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday. She is already at work. She sees the call and steps outside between tables. What's wrong? She says. Nothing's wrong. Don't call at 8 a.m. unless. I bought something. She waits. Patty's, he says. She is quiet. Not Patty herself. She sold. She wasn't going to continue. Her knees. Her son didn't want to take over. She was going to close it. I found out, and Marcus, I didn't buy it to change it. I bought it to keep it. I'm keeping Robert's booth. I'm keeping the pie recipe. I'm keeping everything exactly the same, except the building is owned and maintained properly, and the staff have. Marcus, health benefits and living wages, yes. She stands outside Patty's Diner on Halsted Street with her apron on, and her phone pressed to her ear, and she looks at the building she has worked in for 3 years, at the sign she has walked under hundreds of times, at the window she has wiped, and the door she has opened, and the corner booth where Robert sits on Thursdays. You can't keep doing this, she says. I know. I mean it. I know. But Patty's has Robert in it, and it has you in it. And it's the first place I came to see you after the park. I drove by it the first week, before we met. I drove by it and sat outside for 10 minutes. I didn't tell you that. She is quiet. You drove by my job. Yes, that is insane. I know. That is completely. I know. I don't know what to do with you. That's okay, he says. I'll be here while you figure out. She stands on the sidewalk outside the diner that he just bought, and the morning is doing what mornings do. Moving forward, full of ordinary light, full of things that keep happening whether or not you are ready for them. She says Robert's booth. Untouchable, he says. She breathes. Okay, she says. Okay. Okay, she says. I have tables. I have to go. He laughs. She hears it. The real one. The one that isn't managed or performed or contained. I love you, he says. I know, she says. I have tables. She hangs up. She stands there for one more second. In the morning, in the city, outside the diner. Then she puts her phone in her apron pocket. She goes back inside. She picks up the coffee pot. She goes to work. On a Thursday, Robert is in his corner booth. Black coffee, blueberry pie, 2 sugars. Maya sets it down in front of him. He looks up at her. He has the particular look he sometimes gets, like he is taking attendance and finding everything present. You've changed, he says. She wipes down the next table. Have I? Something landed, he says. She stops wiping. She looks at him. He picks up his fork. He cuts into the pie. He takes a bite with the focused satisfaction of someone who has ordered the same thing every Thursday for a long time and has no plans to stop. He sets the fork down. He takes a note from his shirt pocket. He slides it across the table. She picks it up. 2 words. Still standing. She looks at them. She folds the note. She puts it in her apron pocket with all the others. She goes back to work. That night, late kitchen, tea she can now afford to buy. A text from Marcus. How was your Thursday? She thinks about Robert, about the note, about the word landed. She types. Something landed. She can feel him smiling when he writes back. Yeah? Yeah, she writes. Good, he writes. She puts her phone down. She finishes her tea. She turns off the kitchen light. She walks down the hall. She stops at Bree's door. She opens it 1 inch, just enough to see. Bree is asleep. The giraffe named Gerald is under her arm. The signed book is on the nightstand. Maya stands there for a long time. Then she does something she almost never does before 11 o'clock. She smiles, in the dark, alone, at nothing and everything at once.